Welcome back, Seekers. Today, we're diving into a critical topic, one that if done correctly would change the political landscape of our entire country: corruption in the mainstream media. We've all heard it, we all feel it, but today we're gonna unpack it. Because if there's one thing we deserve, it's the truth. When was the last time that you remember getting truth from the mainstream media?
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about the troubling trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
Plaguing our country.
Sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Many people, unfortunately, still cling to the idea that our media is free and independent, acting as a watchful eye over our government and institutions. But let's be honest, the landscape of journalism has drastically changed. What was once a field rooted in uncovering truths has now largely become a stage for state-run narratives. Yep, you heard me right, state-run. And this isn't an exaggeration, it's an observable shift if you're paying attention. The mainstream media's dependence on governmental access and large corporate sponsors has completely skewed their reporting. It's transformed them into extensions of those very powers they're supposed to check and balance. And this isn't just a problem for the media industry. This is an existential threat to our republic. Consider the revolving door phenomenon, where journalists transition into governmental or corporate roles and vice versa. This creates a conflict of interest so deep that it's almost impossible to trust their reporting. For example, Jake Tapper was very critical of President Obama when he called for and accomplished the assassination of Anwar al-Awlaki and his 13-year-old son, Abdulrahim al-Awlaki, which made the government very uncomfortable. Then all of a sudden, he stopped putting pressure on the administration, and the next thing you know, he has his very own primetime show on CNN. So instead of serving as the watchdogs of our republic, these journalists become the lapdogs of powerhouses. This revolving door compromises the integrity of the information that we receive. Now I know what you're thinking, why should I even care about this? Well, the simple answer is this: informed citizens make informed decisions. The media's role in a republic is not just to inform, but to educate and empower the public. If the media is compromised, so too is our capacity to govern ourselves effectively. By filtering information through a lens that favors the powerful, the media is doing the American public a grave disservice. Misinformation, bias, and selective reporting dilute the facts and manipulate narratives. This isn't just poor journalism, it's a betrayal of the public trust. Think about all the major events in recent years: elections, pandemics, wars. How often have we seen information tailored to fit a particular narrative rather than presenting an impartial picture? Examples are numerous and troubling. If truth is manipulated, our reactions, our decisions, and policies based on that information can cause significant harm. Let's pause and imagine the potential of an honest media. A media landscape that truly operates independently, free from governmental or corporate influences. Such an entity could shine a light on corruption, call out deceit, and provide the transparency that is so desperately needed in our society today.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
An independent media could be way more influential than any branch of government. They have the potential to educate the masses on crucial issues, drive policy changes, and even prevent corruption before it takes root. Imagine a world where journalists regularly uncover misdeeds of powerful corporations or governments, where investigative reporting leads to real-world change. This potential is rarely realized, and that is the true tragedy of all of this. Today, we live in an era where public trust in the media is at an all-time low. According to recent polls, only a minority of Americans believe in the integrity of mainstream news outlets. This decline in trust is not unwarranted. The partisanship, sensationalism, and outright dishonesty found in today's news cycles are alarming. But what are the consequences of this mistrust? The most obvious is public apathy. When people stop believing in the information they receive, they disengage from the civic process. And to that, the division fostered by biased reporting, and you get a deeply polarized society where even basic facts are disputed. And let's not forget the role of social media. While it has given voice to independent journalists and alternative views, it has also become a breeding ground for misinformation and echo chambers. The lines between fact and fiction blur even further here, exacerbating the problem created by the mainstream media. Moreover, this erosion of trust has led to a dangerous reality: censorship. To counter misinformation, platforms and government have started to regulate speech and control narratives.
We become involved when disinformation poses a threat to the security of our country. It is when there's a connectivity to a threat to our country. It could be a threat, a connectivity to violence. Do we have policies? Do we have guardrails? Do we have standards?
But here's the problem. We can't even agree. We can't even agree what disinformation is. You can't even agree that it was disinformation, that the Russians fed information to the Steele dossier. If you can't agree to that, how are we ever going to come to an agreement on what is disinformation so you can police it on social media?
This contradicts the very essence of freedom of speech in the press that our republic stands on. Instead of a free exchange of ideas, we face a controlled dissemination of approved messages. One significant and historical example of manipulation is Operation Mockingbird. During this Cold War era operation, the CIA infiltrated mainstream media organizations. What was their goal? To sway public opinion and propagate specific narratives.
I thought that it was a matter of real concern that planted stories intended to serve a national purpose abroad came home and were circulated here and believed here, because this would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country. Now we're looking at that very carefully.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
At CBS, we
had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole News and Public Affairs operation in 1954, the ships had been established, and I was told about them and asked if I'd carry on with them.
This is not only unconstitutional, but a blatant abuse of power. When government agencies covertly undermine free press, it erodes the very foundation of a republic built on informed consent of the governed.
What's the cadet motto at West Point? You will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training courses.
This brings us to a core point: the importance of independent journalists today. In a time where mainstream media fails to uphold its duty,
vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
The Post claimed that the emails were found on a laptop computer that was brought to a repair shop in Delaware in the spring of 2019.
Well, again, George, this is on the central big question of was there any coordination, collusion with the Russians on what they were doing in the election.
Independent journalists are the backbone of our republic. They continue to pursue the truth, often at great personal risk and cost. Figures like Julian Assange and journalists like Redacted News, Tucker Carlson, Glenn Greenwald, The Gray Zone, these journalists represent what we desperately need. They dig into stories that mainstream outlets often ignore, exposing corruption, unraveling propaganda, and telling the stories that matter. Julian Assange, for instance, has faced severe repercussions for his dedication to transparency and accountability. His work with WikiLeaks has been pivotal in exposing government and corporate misconduct on a global scale. Yet instead of being celebrated, he's vilified by those in power and under dire legal threats. He's free now, but he was imprisoned for about 12 years. Now, most independent journalists are not beholden to corporate interests or political agendas. Now, we know some of them are, but most of them work tirelessly to provide us with unfiltered, unbiased information. By standing up for transparency and accountability, they ensure that we, the public, are informed and empowered to make decisions that shape our republic. Support for these individuals and organizations is not just commendable, but essential. They are the ones keeping journalistic integrity alive in a world where truth is increasingly hard to come by. Their courage and dedication help maintain a balance of power and protect the public's right to know. So where do we go from here? First, it's crucial for each of us to support independent journalism. Publications and reporters who adhere to the principles of integrity and unbiased reporting need our backing more than ever. Subscribe to independent news, share their work, and support them financially if you're able to do so. Second, always question the narratives you're presented with. Healthy skepticism is vital in this information age. Look for multiple perspectives on the same issue and be wary of sources that seem too aligned with particular political or corporate interests. Third, be vocal about demanding accountability. Media organizations are businesses and they respond to audience demands. If we collectively insist on higher standards, more transparency, less bias, they'll have no choice but to listen. Call out disinformation, support public fact-checking initiatives, and engage in discourse. Okay, so to wrap up, the media's role in our society cannot be overstated. They can be the guardians of our republic, but only if they rise above the corrupting influences that shadow them today. It's time for all of us to take a stand, encourage and support independent media, and always seek the truth. Now, if you enjoyed this discussion, I'm inviting you to join the conversation in the comments below. Your voice matters, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep seeking the truth, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.